we go.
Peace, 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 family. Maurice here, the brother Passy, sister Sylvia, and we have a lot to cover today based on what has unfolded over the past few days. The while we have brother Passy on, and everyone knows. I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people know the advances that are being made by the Rwandan military and its M23 militia after occupying Goma. They have their sights set on in the city of Bukavu on the other end of Lake Kivu. And so we have our brother Pasi. That's your home. So we'd like for you to just share with us, what's happening and what's going on with your family first and foremost. Well, everybody's okay, hopefully, and then take it from there, please.
Yes, thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can
Hello?
hear you fine. Can you maybe speak up a little bit?
Yes. Can you hear me now? Quite
Yes,
well?
yes.
Yes,
Here
thank
you
you
are.
for this opportunity. Yeah. Thank you, Front of the Congo, for the follow up and support because Bukavu is the town that's where I grew up. I left my village, Mwenga, Kamituga territory, to Bukavu when I was 16. I
Hmm.
grew up, I completed my secondary, my high school uh, education and level up to my college. And so Bukavu is my hometown. So I'm more affected. I remember when this happened to me, couldn't even communicate and give information. But I managed to give the situation and say thank you, particularly for front of the Congo because my big family is in Bukavu. My wife's family is also there. And the first thing in a country where you're living on daily struggle, daily, you know, uh, management and hustling, you have to go downtown to work because there is no employment, so no job. You have to fight every day in order to get food, and this was a great challenge for my folks, my relatives, my family members, just to manage because this came suddenly. And just yesterday morning, I shared a video and a picture of the rebels, M23 rebels, controlling Kavum Airport, and around 4:30, half past 4 p.m., we heard them. They invaded the town, so people were not prepared. So the
Hmm.
first situation so far is the food stuff. Dealing with food and how to have food stuff for the family. And I said thank you for Friend of the Congo for supporting me in that way. So I'm in permanent communication with them. And the situation is that this morning we could see people, going looting, plundering some shops, some stores downtown, and the Kadutu markets, the big markets, and the Copera is the big shop where you can see even though it was Orlando and our soldiers who left because they withdrew themselves, and the camp, the the weaponry camp called Tepe, so was bombed this morning because our soldiers, they felt like being uh, with no support from the government, so they had to burn all these weapons, these guns, less that for fear that the rebels could come and take these weapons. And the situation that camp is not far from the central prison jail of Bukavu. So all the prisoners were coming from that side and taking some guns, and also the Sayo camp that was left by our soldiers. So there was a kind of free taking of guns, and now you could see, though the soldiers went, they fled from the town, but the masses, people from the masses and the wild Wazalendo could still and shoot, and the gun was still shooting, and this is the fact. So the looting was done by Wazalendo and some soldiers and the population. So this is the situation. People need to have food because they are fearing hunger, no support, they don't know how to live. So that's the situation. And the situation this evening is that the soldiers, the official soldiers of the our national army are coming back from Uvira. So they they left the town, that they're now coming back. So this is said that this is due to the, let's say, the struggle of the government as far as the dialogues negotiations are concerned. But the other version of the fact is that there was a Lendo Yakutumba team from Fizi territory, and Okamite from the Walungu territory. Is they said that the soldiers who surrendered, who left the town, should give them the guns. If they don't do that, they are going to be fought by and attacked by the Wazalendo, this resistance movement of so since the Mai Mai movement since 1994, they said, okay, we will not let these rebels to cross Uvira plain and Ruzizi plain, and so they are controlling the Walungu territory, the Uvira territory, and also they are controlling the Kaozi Biega. They said that they shouldn't cross this. If our soldiers are not able to fight, they are going to defend the population, and this is the
Mhm.
situation. And we can still hear some shooting, and the situation is very complicated because uh, the army, our army is not able to control who is shooting, because the all these guns were taken by the population, and especially these criminals who left the prison. This is the situation. It is very
I see.
complicated.
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions to ask you, but I'll wait. Somebody from IG wanted to know whether or not. First, we heard you mentioned how quickly things are happening, right? The airport was taken by Rwandan soldiers and M23 militia, and then the city of Bukavu was taken, right? And then we're hearing that the Congolese soldiers are back in, and that's the question that came in from Instagram, whether or not who's controlling the city from what you've heard. Are the Congolese soldiers back in? The city still under control of the Rwandans and the M23?
Yes, very good question. So the fact is that the soldiers, this started when the Kavumu airport. We should inform that mention that the Kavumu airport is 25 miles, around 30 kilometers from Bukavu town. When our army heard that the rebels took Kavumu, they started running away, and you could I have videos where our soldiers said that we are not going to fight because we are not paid. The government didn't support us. The airport was there, but we couldn't see any support from the government. So, say about who is controlling the cities, that our army is controlling the so-called independence place, Place de l'Independence. But the rebels are in the Bagira town and township. The Bagira commune is close to the airport. It is difficult to say who is controlling. And I heard a communicate. I mean, the information from the RFI, the International de France radio, saying that the rebels were instructed. They received the order not to control to occupy Bukavu because there are negotiations that are ongoing in progress. So it is difficult to say who is controlling. But this coming back of our soldiers is just promising the population. And the problem is that so many criminals and was a land of shooting and are still plundering, looting the shops and markets downtown. It is very difficult because the rebels haven't stated in Bukavu. They haven't talked to any official radio or any public statement in Bukavu. So they both the rebels and our army is they are not stating that. No information, official information.
Mhm. I see. Yeah, so it's a lot of confusion from what you're getting from the ground. I don't know if
Yeah,
you heard me.
exactly. No.
Yeah. I don't know, Sylvia, if you had a few questions you wanted to ask Passy. I know you work with the Panzi Foundation, and Panzi Foundation is right there in Bukavu. Are you hearing anything from? Are people okay at the foundation? I don't think Dr. Mukwege is there. From what I understand, he may not be there. He had
Mhm.
left a while back. So it'd be good to know what folks are saying from the and just tell folks, who what Panzi Hospital, Panzi Foundation is about.
Okay. Well, it all started with the Panzi Hospital,
Hmm.
created by Dr. Denis Mukwege, the Nobel Prize winner. It's doing amazing work supporting victims of sexual violence in the DRC. For those who don't know, it's approximately 48 women that get raped every hour in the DRC, and that's an approximate, so it can be more than that, it can be less. I mean, just on January 27th, about 160 women were raped and then burned to death. So the East is it's really an area where a lot of violence is happening, and we've never seen another area where rape was used to that extent as a weapon of war. And so the Panzi Hospital is doing such amazing work. We have victims that walk for hours and hours just to get there, to get the support that they need. Um, Back when I was in high school, I had the privilege to actually go to the hospital, visit it. It was my first time actually meeting Dr. Denis Mukwege and seeing firsthand what they do. And so it's why this time is very critical and very heartbreaking because with
Mm.
the advances of the soldiers into Bukavu, it's very dangerous. For those who haven't seen it, there's a lot of social media posts about protect Panzi, save Panzi, because that hospital needs to be protected. It needs to be running. It needs to be continuing to do what they do. And so I'm currently a youth ambassador at the Panzi Foundation. We The program is mostly learning, um, as well as action and raising awareness. And so we have Zoom meetings where we have guests that come and talk to us that make us understand the history of Pansy, what it's doing, holistic care models, and just for us to see firsthand everything that happens backstage. But also, we learn how to bring support to the foundation, fundraising, because
Hmm.
people from the outside don't understand how much they can contribute and how much they can help. We're in 2025. Most of the work can be done through social media, from a distance. And so our work is to raise awareness on the Panzi Foundation, raise awareness on the work, and raise awareness on how you can help from the comfort of your home,
Yes. Are you, Sylvia, are you from South Kivu yourself, or?
Yes, I am. I was born in Goma,
Hmm.
and we moved to Kinshasa when I was 2 years old. So I grew up in Kinshasa, but most of my family is in Goma or Bukavu. So it would be an underestimate to say just how much these times are painful and very difficult as a Congolese, but also because my family is literally there. Growing up, I would always hear, pray for Beni, protect Beni. Now
Hmm.
it's protect Goma, pray for Goma. Now it's protect Bukavu. Things are getting worse and worse with time. And so it's so heartbreaking, especially being an individual from the East. And it feels like your whole country is being attacked, but also specifically your own personal roots are being attacked. Not being able to visit family members that matter so much. I feel like a lot of people will be able to relate that, yes, I'm not physically in the East right now, but we feel excruciating pain just reading
Hmm.
and listening to everything that is
Mm.
happening. I mean, I know that I can't even go and visit my grandparents, whether in Goma, Bukavu, Beni. I can't see my family there because of everything that is happening. And so
Mm.
that's how disgusting it is, you know.
Are you in communication with your family?
I
How
am.
you know how they're doing, if they're okay?
Yes, I'm very happy and very grateful that my family is doing fine. They're okay.
Hmm.
Some of them had to move because they were in Goma, but obviously others can't move because I have grandparents that are way too old to be doing all of the refugee stuff and moving around and getting
Mm.
away. And so we have family members that decide to stay there because they need to bring support, you know. And so looking back, I feel extremely grateful because yes, it's hurtful to know that they're in danger and that they have to move, but it makes me think of the individuals that literally lost people,
Mhm.
individuals that can't connect to their family, perhaps they're in refugee camps of that type of sorts. And so it's a very difficult time, but it feels great to be in contact with organizations like Friends of Congo, the Panzi Foundation, knowing that even if you're not there and it feels like it is so much and you're questioning yourself
Mm.
on the impact that you can have an impact. There's no single individual here that can do anything to support Congo. Wherever you're from, whoever you are, there's a way for you to support Congo.
Yeah, and people I'm gonna share the link, Panzi Foundation,
Yes,
Panzi
yes.
Foundation.org. If you want to support, donate, and we'll share the link shortly. You know, uh, you Patsy, you've been through this before. It's not the first go around. You know, you've shared your story about. Maybe you can just share with people uh, you know what you experience so that folks know like this is like repeating and we really need to bring an end to it, you know. So maybe you can just share what you know just from what happened with you the first time that we had this incursion on the part of your neighbor, the Rwandan soldiers and whatever militia group they mobilized to displace so many people
Yeah.
and Sylvia say rape so many women and just wreak havoc and destruction on the Congolese civilian population.
Yes. Thank you, brother. Yeah. Talking about my experience. So we people from the east, we grew up, we were born in these conflicts. Okay. And I remember in 1994 when I started my primary school in Kamituga. Kamituga is the city, the small city that's Belgians. You know, Belgians they built the industry called Somenki, the mineral society of Kivu. So the city is built on on gold and
Mm.
one of the powerful so powerful gold. So having more so values.
So
So
that's
the
the
problem is that
predominant Passy, that's a predominant resource that you're like the east of the Congo is just like replete with just minerals. But you're saying gold is a dominant resource in and around Bukavu.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And the fact is
Mm.
that in Kamituga there are more minerals, coltan. We have mainly we have gold. And my first experience with this conflict is that I was 5 years old when I saw a refugee. Remember, so after the incursion, the invasion of Rwandan refugees coming with guns, I was taught by a Tutsi teacher in Kamituga, and he was slaughtered publicly. We were children; we couldn't know what is happening. We know that some shooting. There is a fighting between war between Hutu and Tutsi people from Rwanda. But we didn't know that this one was a Tutsi war. So we were children. We were just kids, and we could be killed with our director because the teacher was from the Tutsi ethnic tribe, and then the Hutu people came to kill him, and we could be slaughtered. And from that time, so we the director, okay, and the parents they started crying, and I could say the person, the teacher being slaughtered, and we grew up in this tension. My second experience is with the war in Kasika. Kasika in 1998, one of the massacres that the Rwandan army made in Kamituga. It was because people were coming from Kamituga going to Bukavu with some minerals, and they were Rwandan officers. One of his cousins, his family member, was shot, was
mm,
bombed, and then Paul Kagame ordered the army to kill. And if you go to Google, you can see Kasika, the situation of Kasika, and this is the situation in Mwenga, in Makobola, so the regions we grew up with these shootings. And in Bukavu, in the war with Laurent Kunda, so they took Bukavu, and you see all these experiences. Things are coming back, so they are only there for their interest. And when
mm,
they found some negotiations, some collaborations and accords agreements, they withdraw. And this is the same situation. We people, the local population, is not aware of what is happening. Only these troops and our army and our government, they know what they have signed and what they are fighting for. But the population is the victim, and so being raped, our women. I remember Panzi Foundation with Dr. Dennis Mukwege. We had sessions and we were trained like young people, activists. Dr. Dennis Mukwege prepared, taught us about the need. And I remember we were pushing Dr. Dennis Mukwege to postulate, and he was saying that I'm not there for any political position, but we
mhm,
were pushing him. Yeah, this is the life we grew up with in these conflicts. But the situation in Bukavu nowadays is different from what happened in Goma, because the soldiers didn't fight back. They decided to withdraw because this could make the same result. This could, so bring the dangers. What happened in Goma could be repeated, killing of people. So they they chose from withdrawing themselves and not to cause these challenges and these bad dangers and dangerous situations of killing people. More than 2,000 and people were killed in Goma. So that's
mm,
what people are saying, that in Bukavu, they made a very good decision, though they are also claiming their treatment by the government of Kinshasa, which is silent. The
mm,
population, the context is not the same, because there are territories like Fizi, the movement, all these former Mai resistance are saying that if the soldiers are not fighting back, but we people, we the owners of this land, we are going to fight. This is the
mm.
situation, and it is somewhat complicated, different from what happened in Burma. But we
And
grew up, we know what happened.
the population of Bukavu is about 1 million people, and Goma is 2 million. Is that correct? Sylvia, Passy, population of Bukavu is about 1 million inhabitants.
Yeah, it is nearly the same number in Goma, so between
Mhm.
2 million and 3 million.
Yeah, I know it's smaller than Goma for sure.
Smaller
Goma
than Goma,
is
yeah. And probably just
Sure.
you don't have the displacement camps in and around Bukavu like you have in Goma as well. That's putting added pressure on the population. So what is the government saying? What has Kinshasa said for your family that's there in South Kivu in Bukavu? Have they heard from the Congolese government? Any word at all for either of you, Sylvia, Passy?
on my end, I haven't heard any
Yeah,
sort
thank
of
you.
governmental announcement or anything.
Mhm.
Just to add on to what was said previously, I do know that they've made their advances into Bukavu, but there was not a lot of resistance. And about that, I would love to get you guys' insight on it. But it's difficult to figure out how to feel about it because, from the viewpoint of the lives and protecting our people, it is great to know that, not too many lives were lost. We don't have people that ended up dead, shot, killed, or raped. I mean, we don't know for sure that none of that happened, but at least we know it's not like in Goma. But at the same time, knowing that it's becoming easier, quote unquote, for them to continue their advances and that they're facing less resistance, it's difficult to understand how to feel. Because, yes, we don't want people to die, and it's amazing to know that we don't have that in high numbers. But how do we ensure that the lives are being protected, but at the same time, it is not made easy or possible for them to continue their advances?
Yeah, but it seems like there's no one to protect the people. Am I off on that? Patsy?
I heard
Who's?
something about the FRDC coming tonight.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, in one of the group chats that we share.
Right,
Actually.
right, right.
That's most of what I've heard.
Yeah. Um, can you hear us okay, Patsy? Can you hear us?
I
I was
can hardly
asking
hear. Yeah,
Patsy, it seems like there's
yeah,
no one to protect the
yeah. I can
people.
hardly hear.
Is that the case? Like, what are your family members
Yeah, thank
saying?
about the protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, the family members reporting that after their, I mean, they going the leaving of their the soldiers of our army. So it was Alendo because these was Alendo people are namely from the population,
Hmm.
and also there are prisoners who were engaged in robbery, armed
Patsy's connection is having a little bit
and
of challenge. Patsy's talking to us from the Congo, so the connections can be challenging at times. We'll wait for him to come back. Hopefully, we'll get Patsy back. He's still on the screen, so hopefully he'll circle back. One of the questions that came in was about the Burundian soldiers. We've received different figures. There are about 3,000 soldiers that were there in and around Bukavu in South Kivu. Burundi is right next door. You go to Uvira, and then next thing, Bujumbura. And this kind of ties into a previous question about, why the Rwandan soldiers there. And a part of it, too, there's a regional component, Sylvia, in that right now there's beef, let's just put it that way, between Burundi and Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
And Burundi said Burundi government said they have their soldiers in there because they are concerned that the Rwandans are arming and supporting the Red Taba militia group,
Mm-hmm.
which is a Burundian militia group that seeks to overthrow, I guess, disrupt the Burundian government.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, Paul Kagame President of Rwanda, has made it clear that that he's concerned about what Burundi is doing, that the movements of Burundi. In fact, when the East African community met
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks ago, both the president of Burundi and the president of the DRC were absent from the East African community uh, meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a regional component to it as well. But from what we've heard, that those Burundian soldiers that were there, which people thought may be a bulwark, so to speak, against the Rwandan soldiers, that they left.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that what you heard as well, Sylvia?
Yeah.
Receipt of it.
Um, that's a good summary. Yeah, that's mostly what I've heard. And from one side, it feels great to have external support. We really need
Mm-hmm.
that. On the other hand, you see videos of the Rwandan president saying that actually so many countries are hiding behind Rwanda, and so it's them, and the world is accusing Rwanda, and we have people on the internet making Congolese be portrayed as perpetrators instead of victims.
Mm-hmm.
And so this influx of so many misinformation is very hurtful, but it's also a critical time where we have to do the best we can do to make sure that the truth and the actual true information can be put out there.
Sylvia, you're so. That is a really important point that you raised. That's why these lives, hearing from you and Passy, who are from the area, and your families. So when you're speaking, you're not even speaking as an analyst and telling, making analysis. You're saying like, hey, my mother, my grandmother, my sister, we're being displaced. We're hearing the bullets and the bombs, and we're seeing the Rwandan soldiers, and this is so this narrative, this story from the Congolese people is so critical. People are watching, and a lot of people are like, we don't know what's happening, what's going on. So, your voice, Passy's voice, uh, telling the truth. Like, this is a 30-year, Passy said when he was 5 years old, right? This is a 30-year war of aggression and plunder that continues to this day, right?
Yeah,
So this is
as
just
a 20-year-old,
start.
I don't know a Congo without war. I've never known it. I've never
You've never,
experienced
as
it.
yeah, as a young adult, right?
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
what it's like to not hear about your country bleeding every single day. I don't remember a time where Congo was not bleeding or going through so much like that, or at least I can read about it a little bit, but for my lifetime, that's all I see. And it's disgusting that a lot of people don't want to get involved in it because of all of
mhm,
the political and comments in terms of like, the connections. But it's important to just highlight the stories.
right.
From my experience, I've noticed that a lot of people they understand politics, but they don't necessarily want to talk about it,
Hmm.
especially if it's not their own politics. And so
Mm,
I really want to highlight the voices, the unheard voices, the unheard stories, because this doesn't have to be a political war about politics. Let's make it about the lives, let's make it about the people that didn't ask to be impacted by everything. And everyone is included in it because I think that anyone that has any type of electronic, especially an iPhone, if
mhm,
you're not using that electronic device to support Congo, you have the blood of those people on your hands because we're
mm,
participating in it
mhm,
and so you have an iPhone, you have everything, all of these things that were made using resources in Congo, but you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to participate in it, you don't want to share about it. If you don't want to talk about politics, that's fine. Talk about the people, talk about the women that were raped, the the people forced to eat dead bodies. There are so many stories that
mm,
deserve to be heard because we cannot bring those people back to life. We cannot undo everything that was done to them. But one of the most hurtful things is when pain happens and it is discarded. When people go through suffering and no one sees it. As of
mm,
right now, most of the people that care and talk about it are Congolese. We need
mhm,
more people from the outside world to participate because this is not our war. This is not our crisis. If it wasn't for all of our resources that benefit so much of the world, we would not be going through this. So there's
mm.
no reason why the rest of the world should not enter with us and support us in this.
Sylvia, thank you for that. Because people ask, well, what should I do? I'm connected. Passy was just telling, depending on which area you're following these militia, one day they may be having a Khotan area that they've captured. Another day it's a tin area. Passy was just talking about Bukavu and it's like gold and just the resources that are there that we all benefit from our cell phones, our electric vehicles, the video games our children play, you just name it. So you just made an appeal, Sylvia, a call to action that, hey, use your phone to spread the word, to donate to Panzi Foundation that's caring for the women and children. Send a donation to Panzi using your device. So use your device in a way that can be in solidarity with the Congolese people. So that's a really good step that everybody who's watching right now can do. They're
Yeah.
watching on some device, probably on
Absolutely.
their phone, right?
Yeah.
So while you're watching, we put the link, put it back up there for Panzi Foundation.
Hmm.
Support the Panzi Foundation. They've been at the front lines of treating women and caring for them, not just physically, but mentally and healing. Because I don't know, maybe you can talk a little bit, Sylvia, about the trauma, to the extent that you can, without
Yeah.
what these women are going through in the population. From You said you haven't known, all you've known is conflict and war that's been imposed upon you. You and your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember growing up and hearing my parents have conversations and just them trying so hard to keep us away from it because we were so young,
Mm.
conversations about rapes. I remember the first time I was introduced to the word rape. Like, what's crazy about this is that I didn't know anything about sexual intercourse or that type of stuff before knowing about rape. And
Mm.
so that was very traumatic, but it explains what it means to be Congolese, because I remember in my mind trying to understand what all of that meant, because I was so young. I didn't understand what any of this was, but I had to figure in my mind, like, rape, like, I hear it so much, le viol, everywhere, all
Mhm.
the time. And I remember my parents trying so hard to protect us from it, but they, obviously, being Congolese and being adults, they were always doing their best for them to stay knowledgeable on all of the information. I remember that one time I walked in into them, they were talking about it. When they saw me, they stopped. But like my mom mentioned, like some type of video that was on her phone, and I
Mhm.
remember I was such a rebel kid. I just remember sneaking in and taking her phone because I wanted to see it. I was like, "Why
Mm.
are you hiding this from me?" Because my
Mm.
parents used to be very open and talk to us, but when it came to that, they wouldn't talk about it because they didn't want to traumatize us. And
Mhm.
I remember just watching that documentary. I can't remember the name or anything because I was so young, but that documentary was talking about rape and the stories of girls my age. I must have been what? Younger than six. I must have been
Mm.
younger than six at that time. Stories of girls
Mm.
my age going through rape and experiencing all of that and thinking that, oh my gosh, how do they live after that? I would die. But just
Mm.
understanding that that is normalized. And I remember my sister, she for a project at school, she decided to create a fundraiser and an awareness campaign at
Mhm.
school for orphans to go to Panzi. And so we actually went to the Panzi hospital and we met victims of sexual violence. And
Mhm.
that's something I will just never forget. It's like they can be healed physically, and Pansy does so much to support them mentally. But there's
Mhm.
a switch. I remember I would just look at these girls and they would tell me their stories. So many of them were younger than me. I must have
Mm.
been maybe 15 at that time.
Mhm.
I actually went to visit, maybe 16. Some of them, so many of them were younger than me. And just their eyes, their eyes had so much pain. I
Mm.
would see burns on their bodies. Just, it's, people don't understand how impactful it is, how much it changes your life to go
Mm.
through something like that and then have to live with that. And many, they survive, but they lose a part of themselves.
Mm.
And as of right now, Pansy is one of the best support physically there, in the
Mhm.
team that are helping them with that. And that's why it is so important to support them and support any and every other efforts that are happening. And so it's just rape is such a big part of the Congolese history that it's hurtful. That's
Mm.
why they say 48 women are raped every hour. Like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. We've been on this call for about half an hour. So
Mhm.
it would be that about 24 women were raped since we started this call. This is insane. And we have kids, very young kids, infants going through that. And
Mm.
it's like, how is the rest of their lives going to look like?
Mm.
How are we
Yeah.
going to be able to put them back into society and work with it? But I also want to share the resistance, the strength. It's crazy for me to look at these women. And I remember they had programs where they would help women get back into society and like start their own businesses. And you see these women, they're smiling, they're strong,
Mm.
they're fighting for their lives. And you would not be able to guess what they've been through. Of course,
Mm.
are the adults that have been through all of the medical and mental support, that
Mm-hmm.
Panzi offers. But it's like, how are you able to continue with life after that and be so
Mm.
hopeful, knowing that it's still continuing, knowing that the
Right.
perpetrators are still out there? Because right now, it's not like, oh, yeah, he did that to me and now he's going to be in jail so I can go back outside. No, he
Mm-hmm.
will still be outside. And so, how do they continue that? It's very it's very traumatizing, just hearing about it. And so trying to put yourself in the shoes of people that actually go through it. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know of the name Maman Masika? I hope
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
her
Yes. Yes.
story, her story.
Remarkable.
She's a hero. She's someone
Mm-hmm.
that I want to see in history books. Like we'll know that the world has become a bit more fair when I see the name Dr. Denis Mukwege on history books, people at school
Mm-hmm.
being taught that Maman Masika, because these stories hold so many lessons. There's no reason why they should not be taught. There are
Mm-hmm.
heroes. Her story is just crazy. I believe she was raped in front of her kids. She saw people die in front of her, and she went on to help other women. How do you
Yes.
do that? How do you help other individuals heal from your own trauma that you didn't get much help on, and then
Yeah.
not be considered a hero?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. That it's. I mean, you just told a riveting story, Sylvia, and I'm glad you also brought in the resilience of the women in spite, right, in
Yeah.
spite of the horrendous conditions that they're facing, and uh, that really lays out when we talk about the Congo, right?
Hmm.
uh, we really need to see the women organizations stepping up, right? This is a war, a resource war, right? That's literally been fought on the backs and the bellies of women,
Yeah.
right? Right? So there is no reason that institutions, organizations, formations, leaders that are championing women issues shouldn't be like uplifting Congolese women.
Exactly.
And not only uplifting Congolese women, but calling on those forces that can make a difference in bringing an end once and for all
Hmm.
to this genocide that's unfolding, this terrorism that's being waged against women. And
Hmm.
the thing about it, Sylvia, people look at the Congo and they say it's complex. It, the lift to bring an end to this. It's not a high bar, right?
Not.
It's just that all of the worldly. If you look at what's happened in the last couple of weeks, right? You look at the group of seven nations. We're talking about European nations. We're talking
Yeah.
about Japan.
Hmm.
We're talking about Canada, the United States. They all say, the perpetrators, those who are, the Rwandan soldiers, need to withdraw, right?
Yeah.
The Secretary General says the same thing, right? The U.S. government, the Russian government, the Chinese, and all of them saying what needs to happen, but they're not acting, right? And
Exactly.
there are clear steps that they can take to act. They can withhold military aid from the Rwandan government, right?
Yeah.
They can do that. At the UN, they can sanction top officials, including the president of Rwanda,
Hmm.
right? Uh, these uh, institutions that are, are covering for them, whether they know it or not. The football teams in Europe, the musicians, John Legend, he stands up for women's rights. So
Yeah.
he's going to be going to Rwanda
How are
on
you
the
supporting
21st,
Rwanda when it
right?
is
On
so
February
obvious?
21st, right?
It's
So
crazy.
so we need all of these women. If you stand for women and women's issues, we need you hitting up, these members of Congress, hitting up these world leaders. Tomorrow we're going to be having an action in
Hmm.
San Francisco at it's the NBA All-Star game tomorrow. The NBA is tightly knitted to the
Yeah.
Rwandan government. There's a lot of sports washing going on. According to ESPN, they've published a number of reports on how the Rwandan government used sports, in this case, the National Basketball Association, to cover for its crimes locally.
Yeah.
So we need to put pressure. We need these groups saying, no, cut your ties with Rwanda as long as Rwanda's soldiers are in the Congo. They say about 7,000 now,
Mm-hmm.
supporting. They say Rwanda has the command and control of the M23.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't be just left up to Congolese, and those are the victims of these wars
Yeah.
of aggression and plunder. But if you're an advocate for women, if you're an advocate for children, if you're concerned about the environment, if you're concerned about, the impact of the technology that you have and use, all of us in these sectors, in these areas, should be rising up to put pressure. And we encourage you to do that. You go to at Congo Friends on Instagram or X, and you'll see action items. Who you can call, where you can send a letter, you know, where the pressure points are that can bring an end to the horrendous, tragic conditions that we see have been imposed on Congolese women, that Sylvia you just spoke about. And go to Free Congo, freecongo.org. Action items right there. We already shared with you, Sylvia shared with you. They need support. Panzi Foundation, panzifoundation.org, Panzi foundation.org. Donate, support the work of Panzi and Dr. Mukwege. So there's a lot that we can do using the technology that we benefit from in the Congo. Like this is, some people say this is a tech war that's unfolding. The scramble for those resources that power our devices that
Yeah.
are in our hands. Use those devices to donate. Use those devices to spread the word. Use those devices to make the calls. Use those devices to mobilize. Hit up your women's organizations, hit up your faith leaders, hit
Yeah.
up, John Legend and say, John, you don't want to be down with this, man.
You
This is
don't
bad.
need to go there.
You
You're
don't need to
so
go.
rich,
Thames
man.
from Nigeria said, I'm not going. That's what Thames said, right?
Exactly.
The singer.
Yeah.
So John Legend, like, hey, we saw even today the NBA, they have like these all-star pre-shows and stuff, and they had Chance the rapper. Those
Mm-hmm.
of you in Chicago know Chance, and
Yeah.
he was on there talking about the moment that we're in. We're in a moment of resistance, So he was commenting on the Super Bowl halftime show and saying like, hey, he dug the fact that folks were lifting up that Sudanese flag, free Sudan, free Palestine. And he's like, we need to wrap our arms around Goma. That's what Chance the Rapper said.
Yeah.
Most people probably know what he's talking about when he said Goma. We're talking about Goma, the city that was just captured by Rwandan soldiers in
Yeah.
the east of the Congo, right? So he had an opportunity and a platform, and he was like spreading the word. So let's do that. There's a lot that people can do
Absolutely.
to change to bring an end, to the wars, to the rapes. So let's do it.
Yeah, and they need to do it now. They need to do it now
It's
because things
urgent.
are going to look very different when it comes to international help because of the new laws with US aid. And
Mm,
so don't look up to your government, only look at yourself and see what you can do. Because as of right now, many people, many troops that are sent to Goma or the east of Congo to provide support, the people that work there and that are supposed to be paid by the US aid, we're going to lose a lot of that. We're going to lose
mm.
a lot of that support. But we're going to lose support for our refugees. And so it's your time, you as an individual, to look at yourself and what you can do and do that. I mean, Focus Congo and what Papi Orion is doing is and it's really like an example of how individuals can take matters into their own hands by creating refugee camps, for individuals on the ground, not waiting for it to appear another way. You just go there and you do what you can do.
Yeah. So there's so many folks on the front lines. Pappy's definitely one on the forefront that are in there in the displacement camps, working with folks, providing support, and just reaching out to for people around the world. That's one way you can be in solidarity and supporting those that are on the front lines doing the work.
Yeah.
We're looking for Patsy to come back. He hasn't been back,
Hmm.
but we're gonna. Sylvia, thank you so much. This is just your first go around.
Yeah.
Folks will get used to your beautiful face. They're going to be seeing you more, talking about your country and what's happening there, and how people can get involved
Yeah.
and support.
Yeah.
support your family and other families and just other human beings, right? That just happen to live in the heart of the African continent
Mm,
on incredibly, and spectacularly wealthy land
yeah.
with gold and diamonds and copper and tin and
Yeah.
tungsten and cobalt and uranium. You just name it. You know, if you go down the periodic chart of minerals, metals,
They
Congo
provide
has it,
it. You know,
right?
provide it. We're number one in the whole world in natural
Yeah.
resources. It's Congo.
Yeah. So
In
you
natural
shouldn't be
resources,
suffering because of that. You shouldn't be wars shouldn't be waged against you against the Congolese people because of that.
yeah. It's
So
crazy how our rich resources, the fact that we're so rich is causing us to be poor.
yeah, yeah,
It's
and that's because you're being robbed, you're being plundered, and the thing that's changed, that's happened since 1996. Before it used to be great powers, European powers, but now you have your neighbors, African powers, joining in
yeah.
on behalf of the imperial powers, right? You have the Paul Kagames of Rwanda, Yoweri Museveni's of Uganda piling on, and you're taking the timber and taking the coltan and taking the gold, which
Hmm.
they don't even process and refine. They send it right out, but they benefit. They get to lodge it on their books as their export gains, and
Yeah.
that helps them in the international markets with their bond ratings and when they need loans and the whole bit. So we're going to get into all of that. I won't put all that policy on there. I just wanted to leave it in the spirit of what you shared, the human element of what of what's happening,
Hmm.
and we'll leave it there. We encourage people to go to freecongo.org if you want to get involved, if you want to take action,
Yeah.
if you want to join the movement, if you want to make a difference. Sylvia, thank you so much.
It was
Any last if parting words?
well. I just like to say, don't wait for another dramatic, traumatic event to support Congo. You know, we see headlines and stories 165 women raped and killed and everything. Don't wait for those headlines to come so that you can remember that Congo is there and needs your help. Because the stories that we hear are what was shared with us. And there's a lot of those. But just imagine everything that we will never know, everything that will never be shared to the public. Those lives also matter, and you have so much power in your hands, more than you can realize. I mean, that other day I tried to contribute to, I think, a fundraiser that was happening on Focus Congo through Instagram. It took me less than 3 minutes, to send money to it's so fast, and it just, when you want to go to Starbucks or whatever and decide, oh, I want to get this little treat for myself and whatever, and spend $20 or even less than that, think of how much you can help by just sending it to any organization. Any works are being done to support the lives that truly matter.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll end it there, and stay tuned. We'll be having many more updates from the ground as things are just unfolding at warp speed. So
Yeah.
thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, be well. Peace.